Naomi. Can we welcome Naomi, everybody? Can we welcome Naomi? Naomi, come on up. So, Naomi, welcome. Thanks for being here. You're good. Hey, there's a few things I want to dive into. Firstly, you'll get baptised in a few weeks' time.
I am.
That's exciting. We're going to talk about that in just a mo. And Naomi, you're fairly new to church and faith. Can you tell us what life was like growing up? Like, did you have a relationship with the church? Did you have any Christian friends? Like, what was sort of faith and life and that kind of relationship like?
Yeah, of course. So for those of you who don't know me, hi, I'm Naomi. For those of you that do, why did you let me up here with a microphone? So my life growing up, so I'm quite local. I grew up about 26 miles away. And my family aren't Christian. I don't have any Christian relatives or anything like that. I grew up normal. No, I'm kidding. I went to a Christian school, actually, growing up. I went to a very small Christian school in a place called Liverton. And I met one of my best friends to this day who is born and raised in a Christian family. And she's not here today, but she usually is. And her name is Liv. And I've known her, since I was about 3.5. And she is kind of the one who brought me to church one day, only actually earlier this year, so I've been a Christian for about, I want to say 6 months now, 7 months maybe. And she brought me into church one day and said, hey, I think you need to come along, you need to have a look at this because you're in a place in your life where I think you could really use some Jesus. And I went, yes, please. So I haven't had anyone growing up other than Liv who was able to introduce me to Jesus Christ. And I am forever grateful to this day that she did, and she had the patience to listen to me going, no, and turn away from her in a lot of times, and then finally come back and say, actually, you know what, I think you're onto something here.
So can you dive into a little bit about when you say you need a little bit of Jesus, what does that mean? And secondly, it was quite a risk to invite you, hey? She inviting you to church wasn't an easy conversation to have.
Absolutely. So we never spoke about Jesus before, ever, until, earlier this year. It was something that I considered as her thing. It was her thing. She was set apart. And in my eyes, she was always one of the most perfect people ever. I could say she could do no wrong. And I think it's a common misconception that Christians out there, they're all just perfect people walking with a bit of light on them. We're all sat here with something that we lay down to Jesus every single day. We're all sat here sinning and going, hey, Jesus Christ, I need you. And so for me, personally, I grew up without Jesus. I didn't know, who he was. I hadn't felt his love. I didn't know who he, that he was a good person. I would say I filled my life with things that weren't good. I was a sinner. I filled my life with sin. I tried to find fulfillment in things that weren't good. And you'd constantly chase the feeling of what you would consider as joy, but it wasn't. Liv having that really risky conversation of saying, hey, I really, I know that you're struggling. I know that you're having a really hard time. I know that you're sat here lost and feeling like you have nowhere to go. I've got just the person for you. That was really brave of her. And like I said, I'm forever grateful that she did have that conversation because, that first day in church, you know what it feels like to feel fulfilled. You come in, you go, you feel that Holy Spirit and you go, this is what I've been waiting for. This is what, true joy feels like. And it beats everything that you've been chasing for a really long time, or everything that I was chasing for a really long time and looking for it in the wrong places. That's exactly what I needed in that moment. And you don't know that you're missing it until you find it. And I think it's just so good.
Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? And so, obvious question, what difference has Jesus made in your life?
Well, like I said, feeling fulfilled, feeling just that immense joy. I was saying to Chris and Hayley earlier, everyone's relationship with God looks different, and it will constantly fluctuate. Sometimes you feel like you're as close as hugging Jesus, and other times you feel like you're further away. And we discussed just constantly having that faith. And I think for me personally, I'm constantly on that faith of, just saying, hey, Jesus is still here for me, even if I can't feel him. I'm not a perfect person. None of us are, like I said. And I think now I recognize things that, I recognize what I should turn away from and what I should turn towards. And I think the main thing that you should go into, for everyone out there who's just considering God at the moment, everyone who's going, who is this guy? I think you should take away that it will be the best decision of your life to just turn around and say, hey, do you know what? I'll hear it out. I'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Just 1 month. I will go ahead and dedicate my life to Christ for 1 month. And you will truly notice that you experience so much more in life. People are kind. You become kinder to yourself. You become a kinder person in general. You will experience so much more joy. You will experience, times of sadness as well. That's just simply the way that life goes. But you're understanding that Jesus will take you as you are in any moment in life and just go, hey, do you know what? I still love you. It's an unconditional love, and it feels amazing.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? Finally, final question is, you're getting baptised, which is super exciting. Yeah. What's that about?
So for me, I was saying to Matt, actually, one of my first meetings with Matt was I had a general misunderstanding of what baptism was. I thought I had to go in it, I'd overcome all of my fears. I'd become the perfect Christian. I no longer sinned. I no longer felt certain things. I no longer went a certain way. And Matt turned around and he went, no. And so for me, and the way you should think about baptism is you are going into it saying, God, I dedicate my life to you. I'm turning around and saying, look, I know I'm not perfect. I know I myself may not be proud of the things that I do, but you are there to support me, and I'm laying down my life for you because you died for me. And that's what the dedication feels like to me, and I'm so excited.
Yeah, so real. Can we give up for Naomi, everybody? Naomi, thank you.